Okay, so this is a quick intro to this GoToWebinar technology if you haven't done it. When we do our trainings, we use the same technology. When we do the online portion of our training, I should say, not the live classroom training, but the live online. And we try as much as possible to keep people engaged. And so, in fact, I would like to see if we've got many of you engaged, some of whom we already know. This is sort of nice to see some familiar faces. Would it be possible if you see this raise your hand button on your GoToWebinar controller, how many of you could raise your hand now as proof that you actually...
Man, Peter, you won.
All right, so Peter won. Another Peter came in. Three Peters are way ahead of the pack. And Paul, okay, we're doing very well. Good to see.
So this is... Yeah,
our expectation is that we are going to have a lot of back and forth in our actual trainings. Today does not count as one. In our actual trainings, we unmute participants so that they can ask questions more directly when they type in questions. There's plenty of back and forth. We encourage it, particularly during the phase in which we are not seeing each other face to face. It's a little hard to tell if somebody is struggling with a particular topic, and we really, really want engagement. So we've got a lot of ways to engage you.
Rater training has a lot of content, and being online that long, so these are 3-hour sections, 10 days online, and it really works best when we have a lot of participation.
And people are awake.
The opportunity for you to space out and do other work or
it's a risk.
Multitask. It is difficult. So we have a lot of interaction, a lot of questions. We do poll questions.
And occasionally we'll just say things that will provoke either laughter or offense. And if we've offended you, you should immediately type it into the question thing, and we'll unmute you, and you can tell us the way in which we are wrong.
Sometimes we get off topic because we can't help it.
So a rater is an energy expert. This is the point of this, is the home energy rater. Certified home energy rater is an energy expert. This is just one of the possible certifications in the building science industries. Certainly a number of you may already be BPI certified, or you may have LEED AP certification, that sort of thing. This is very specifically, energy raters are allowed to do certain things that other people in our industry are not allowed to do. So, and here are some examples of the groups that turn to raters for expertise. State incentive, utility incentive programs, EPA. The Energy Star New Homes program is by far one of the most famous that have used raters to verify the construction of the homes as energy efficient and healthy. But there are others that rely on it all the time.
And excitingly, more recently, codes are starting to include that as an option.
So this is all about understanding that the house is a system made up of many other systems in it. This is something, as I was a builder for, I guess I was a builder for 15, almost 20 years before joining this company. And as a builder that had an eye toward quality, I did not really understand the interactions of a lot of these systems to the point where I know of damage I caused, all with the best intent. So it is a complicated system. It involves the mechanical systems, includes the envelope, which includes windows and walls and ceilings and floors, includes lighting and appliances, water heating. And it also includes, and this is a very specific area that when we get into training, we see the way in which we account for people and their behavior in a rating. And it's very specific. A rating is what's called an asset score, which means it looks at a house and evaluates the house as if it has standard occupants. Much the way that an MPG for cars is figured, so that your mileage may vary, but nonetheless, knowing how to credit for people being in there is an important part of our skill set. What do we use for this? We use energy modeling software. A rating has to be done with approved software. This is a fairly sophisticated tool. It looks at energy flows in and out of buildings based on the weather, based on what's going on inside the house, based on the structure of the house. You can't do this with a spreadsheet in any case, so we don't train on the spreadsheet. We train on a tool called REMRate, which is an energy modeling tool. The blower door and duct blaster, duct blower, duct pressurization tools, these are kind of the hallmark of our industry. So hopefully, this ought to be a poll question really, but the question is, many of you may have seen blower doors or assisted with them or had them done on your home for that matter. Blower door is kind of the hallmark of our industry. It's where we actually, in the 80s, we started to really understand the dynamics of pressure in houses, and this was an exciting thing to understand, and to understand that you could control the pressures and do a lot of diagnostics. Infrared camera, very, very exciting tool that's becoming more and more affordable these past few years, and we'll train on that use of the infrared camera. Cordless drill, that's a stand-in really for the fact that we do very little destructive testing usually in ratings, but we have to, on a couple occasions, drill into a wall or drill into a duct or something in order to do that. The bottom main tool here is building science, and that's really the bulk of the training is about understanding building science. Building science is that house as a system with all of its complexity and associated math.
It's heavy.
It can be pretty heavy.
It's the biggest lift of the training.
It's a big lift. Yeah.
Can figure out how to use the equipment, how to read gauges, how to work the software, but learning the building science and how the different buildings components interact with each other is tricky.
Some of you who are building analysts or lead APs may have studied the building science quite a bit, and then our job is to help you understand how that fits into the protocols that are part of RESNET's system for evaluation. So the ways in which you do combustion safety testing under RESNET is different than the way you do with BPI. How you measure surface areas is something that's specific to RESNET and a couple of other trade groups. So the RESNET is the body, it's actually a member-driven industry trade group that has established the rules that we operate under. And in fact, a little bit of history here that the mortgage industry and the state energy officials in the 90s helped form RESNET as a way to start to quantify efficiency in a better way than the codes were, or than the appraisal industry was able to support mortgage people. And you'll see in this particular, so RESNET is this overseeing body. It oversees providers of various things, and there's HERS QA providers oversee energy raters. So those of you who will take a training will end up having to work with or underneath a HERS QA provider. We form that role. We are a HERS provider, a QA provider, but we're also a training provider.
So you have a question coming in, which we'll take. Someone's asking, do you use a standard software package to record and then analyze your data? And we do. It's the REMRate software that Ethan was referring to. And then he asks, if so, is the software able to communicate with the standard AE design packages like
yeah, so
CAD and stuff?
This is actually an important part of our software training, which is the ways in which this is not CAD. There are a lot of people who use SketchUp, which is a free or relatively low cost package, and we've heard a rumor, I don't think it's actually come to fruition, that somebody's creating a export tool from SketchUp to be able to pump it directly into REMRate.
To pull the inputs that you need into REMRate.
Yeah, that's certainly, it's
in the works.
Peter, that is a very, very desired thing.
Yeah, you're not alone.
You're not alone. We find that even using SketchUp just to do calculations and takeoffs helps a lot if you're good at it. So I wanted to identify that RESNET has come up with this energy rating index. It's a score basically for a house, and And a number of bodies, including, first of all, Energy Star was the big driver for quite a while, from the 90s even till today, of use of raters and use of the index. In the mid-2000s, the IRS was forced to acknowledge, based on tax code that was written in 2005, to acknowledge the role of energy raters for verifying homes for energy efficiency. And to me, that's a point of significant pride, because how often do we get to tell the IRS what to do? Municipal codes, this is a big driver now for us in our particular providership.
I'm proud of you.
We are in our providership, we oversee a bunch of raters whose main line of work is to prove code compliance using the HERS index.
Yeah, do we have any attendees in Massachusetts on here?
Yeah, you could have a show of hands for anyone
who's in Massachusetts.
From Massachusetts. Massachusetts and a few other areas, on Long Island now.
Oh, sure. Oh, Peter's, huh?
We have, yep, so
you guys.
Good. There are a number of growing municipalities that include codes, and not only, so there's this HERS index that's part of it, but the skills, the performance testing skills, and the performance testing skills, as well as the ability to generate a legal rating, are both reasons that people are using codes compliance, even if there isn't a HERS index, even if the RESNET rating is not used in the codes. There are a number of raters that are just doing performance testing, testing ducts, testing the tightness of houses for code compliance.
So another question just came in. Someone was told that becoming a HERS rater requires sponsorship from an existing rater, and they're looking for verification on this. This is totally false.
Yeah, that is not true. So
there's no requirement for that.
I don't know what that means exactly, but if it was somebody who wanted to get you in on a pyramid scheme, please disregard. The fact that I have a little pyramid-shaped stack of raters at the bottom is in no way meant to imply this is network marketing. It is not. Yeah, you can contract directly with a provider, or you can work directly for a provider. And finally, this is a growing thing that we're quite excited about, energy smart builders.
Oh, someone was also wondering your comments. Oh, okay. So you referenced that there's a possibility that raters being employees of a provider may no longer be in the plan.
It's very complicated. RESNET has written a policy.
Yeah, they're looking at increasing the consistency of QA and the HERS index. And one option that they're maybe considering going forward is making sure there's no financial interest between rater and provider who is QAing.
But
the rater, that it can be more third party, but that is not the case currently.
It's not the case currently. It has not been worked out how that works.
When will it be decided is not worked out either. So, you can check the blog on the RESNET website. I can send you guys a link to it.
Yeah, the RESNET website blog.
Follow that discussion. It's fun
it's
and heated.
ResBlog. It's this thing up here, and Emily can forward you the link. So when will that be decided is, well, first of all, you guys should join the industry if you're not already in it. And if you are in it, join RESNET, and then you get to help push these things forward, because RESNET is in fact a member-driven organization, and join committees and task forces. They're fun.
They are fun.
And take up hardly any time unless, I'm sorry, it depends on what's being brought up. So,
and then someone else is asking for the cost of certification for level 1 professional, and I'm not sure what you mean by level 1 professional. It's just rater certification. You're a certified rater when you're done with it.
Yeah.
And
so HERS index is, let me just wrap this up, that the index is
I'll send a link to that information.
Something that the energy smart builders are advertising more, which is that they may or may not be Energy Star builders, but that they build and they have their homes rated, and that helps, in some markets, helps home buyers pick their homes. So we're seeing more and more of that. There are a lot of ratings these days for just for the index for new construction. So there are other certifications, and I should have spelled this out maybe even on this slide. that the main certification for most in this industry or working in the RESNET certification plan is for the home energy rater. So that's, I guess, what one would call level 1, but we don't actually have a level 1. We have HERS rater, and then working underneath them is somebody called a rating field inspector. We know a number of raters who hire people to do their testing or measurement for them.
In order to be a field inspector, you do have to be sponsored by a rater. That could be what
that could have been the other
person was
question.
confused
Yeah.
about.
Yep.
That told you that.
This home energy survey professional, this is an acknowledgement that some homes, particularly existing homes, would benefit from fairly low-cost, fairly quick assessments of their needs. And so this home energy survey professional is one other thing. It's not a rater. It doesn't produce a rating, but it does provide useful building science guidance for homeowners. And then there's RESNET Green Rater. This is something that, for instance, Lead for Homes will acknowledge that RESNET Green Rater status is now, I believe, recognized by the U.S. Green Building Council as acceptable, right? Certification.
Yes. So
there are two software tools we need. You can download this, whether or not you're taking the training. You can download a demo version of REMRate. This is energy modeling software. It is, as discussed a little earlier, not CAD, and in fact, it's very useful to understand the ways in which energy model and CAD are not the same thing. We're not trying to make something that looks like the house that we're in. We're trying to enter the data that captures the energy usage of the house that we're evaluating. And the way it's done is evaluates the energy usage of a house over the course of a year. So that means that, in fact, homes that it captures heating, cooling, hot water, lights and appliances, all those energy uses, including photovoltaics, offsets if you have renewable energy, calculates that for the whole year. So there are some homes that, for instance, are terrible and inefficient when it comes to cooling, but maybe that is more than offset by their efficiency during heating season. Or similarly, some houses have very efficient hot water, and that is calculated in. So all these things are things that you would look at and capture the energy consumption with this energy model. This recommend you download it if you are inclined to go this way. It's a very much a part of the training itself. We actually do 2 models during the training. One on a set of plans and one in a home that we're actually in. Software used for combustion safety training and certification testing. This is a very a new, recently added portion of the training, which is making sure that people understand and can walk through a lot of scenarios for making sure that combustion equipment such as gas-fired water heaters or furnaces are safe to the occupants that are in them. So there's this new almost video game. It is a video game if you'll think of it that way, where you walk through a house and you test the equipment. So here's a question, and maybe we have a show of hands. So if you live or work in New York State, you can qualify for 50% off of our training. And I'm not seeing a show. Oh, I am seeing a show of a hand. Showing of 2 hands, 3 hands. All right. So so be aware that the cost of the training can be significantly reduced due to some funding through the New York State Energy Research and Development Authority. So here's a brief history of energy rated classes, and I'll be very brief about this. But in the old days, everybody traveled somewhere to get a 5-day class, and then they added more requirements that made it impossible. And we personally went to a 6-day class. Those who have suffered with me through a 6-day class, I hope you will consider suffering through easier classes with me in the future. But in any case, it's intense. These 6 days are not 6 leisurely days, and absorbing all the information is as many people have used. It's like doing a college semester in 6 days.
It's a lot of stuff.
Or like drinking from the fire hose is the most common metaphor. I guess that's a simile. So it is a lot of stuff. It's hard to do. We don't think this is the ideal way. It's just that for practical level for both the students and the instructors for a long time, this has been the mode of operation. So we consider this a much better approach. This is essentially stretched out over 3 weeks. And your ability to absorb and respond and ask questions is increased when you've got that. So,
and you have time to like digest 3 hours of training for the rest of the day and while you sleep, and then come back for 3 hours more, do reading that's associated with it. Just gives you more time to process it.
So this is the basic layout, which is that there are essentially 5 days over each for 2 weeks with 3-hour webinars. We consider 3 to 4 hours a maximum amount of time anyone should be spent. Even if we're doing our darndest to keep you engaged, it's going to be hard to go much more than that. So 30 hours spread out over 10 days, as live as possible. That's the goal here.
Yeah. Someone's asking a good question, which is, can you just challenge the tests? There are actually 3 tests. And no, you cannot. You used to be able to in the past, and now training is a requirement.
So the training isn't necessarily all of this, but the training does include doing the actual ratings with a trainer. So there are 2 ratings that you have to do with a trainer. And you have to do performance testing. You have to do blower door testing. You have to do duct testing, and you have to do combustion safety testing now. All of those have to be done with a trainer. So although you could challenge by only taking a few of the in-person days possibly, we don't recommend it. I mean, yeah, we don't recommend it. So not any true challenging, although you can challenge some of it. So here's what's covered in the 10 3-hour live webinars. Class introduction doesn't take a whole day. Class introduction and intro to the industry takes 3 hours. Yeah, I should clarify that.
It could.
We can.
We would like it to.
Yeah, we'd love to go for 3 hours of class introduction, but what we really mean is introduction to the industry. But building science overall, the way houses perform, the house as a system concept, understanding the roles of insulation and air tightness and framing structures in the operation of the building, understanding efficiencies of heating and cooling systems and hot water, learning about ventilation and distribution. It turns out that ducts and bathroom fans and all sorts of things interact with the structure and the energy usage. Combustion safety and combustion safety work scope is its own section. Math, measurement, and protocols. I've got some slides coming up here very briefly that show the sorts of things that we have to measure, like floor area. How do you measure it? Turns out it matters. We run through the rating software, make sure everybody understands that, and then do a rating together in class from a plan review. This is what we call a projected rating. And then finally, the 10th of the 3-hour webinars is essentially a review and a very brief test. How many questions are on that test?
Which one?
The online end of the webinar section.
20. There
are 20 questions. That should be low stress.
It's very low stress.
On the other hand, yeah.
Pretty much fun, really.
All right. At least...
and it's a lot of questions that we have. Pretty much each hour of the training, we have questions to help keep you on your toes, and it's really a review of those.
And we have quizzes
questions
and homework and things to much of which is light. Now, field training, remember there are 4 days involved. Hey, look, there's a picture of me with an infrared camera.
Which one's you? They all look so similar.
They do look similar. The white guy.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Stand out in the industry in that way.
So we may need to edit this recording. So there's actual live field that for more than a day of the classroom field training is out in the field. So sort of a day and a half we expect to be out there, and then another 2.5 days in the classroom together. So these are actual scenes of actual trainings, actually us.
In actuality.
In actuality. So there are options for hands-on training that are coming up. If you sign up for our training, which I don't even think I've got scheduled listed here, which starts when? When is our actual online training happen?
That starts September 29th.
Our first one is September 29th.
So September 29th through October 10th is the online portion. And then the classroom is October 27th through the 30th, as is written here. And I can send, if any of you are in New York or work in New York, there's currently a 50% subsidy for the entire cost of the online and field training. So that's significant if you're in that area. And if you're not, or either way, I can send you a link to where that is on our website.
So
I'll do that through the chat now.
Did I mention already
the Northeast Tours options, which we're doing as well? It's the same online portion. You can go to the Northeast Tours website to sign up for that.
So I don't actually have the testing listed here, do we?
No. So there are 3 exams that you need to pass. Someone's asking about the official written test. There's National Rater exam that you need to pass. You do this all as part of the classroom training. That's 50 questions. You have 2 hours. You need an 80 to pass.
Right.
Then there's a separate 25-question test on combustion appliance zone, health and safety, work scope information.
Which you also have 2 hours, but most people take much less than that for that. And you need an 80 to pass that.
Yes.
And then you have the simulation.
Which is a software simulation on going through a house doing combustion safety
which
tests.
Is, sorry to scroll back in this pathetic way,
you also
which
have
is
2
this,
hours.
which is done in this. You also have 2 hours. Most people, particularly if they've played with the simulation software for a little bit, breeze through that in much less than 2 hours also, and you need an 85 to pass that. I'm sorry to scroll in this way.
Yeah, so we are at 1 o'clock.
So just a reminder that all these are open book on all exams, and we believe that we're in full support of that. This is one of my favorite students, having marked up their reference manuals, and that's its own skill that I admire intensely. So this is, I'm sorry that we are going over a little bit here, but we'll edit it for before we upload the recording. So you need to complete 2 ratings in presence of a trainer. Therefore, you can't challenge that portion of the training. You need to conduct performance tests, blower door and duct pressurization in the presence of a trainer. You need to pass the RESNET test. This is the 50-question test. You need to pass the RESNET combustion safety test. That's another 25-question test. And you need to pass the simulation.
And that's all included in the training. The fees for the exams, the time to take them, that's all part of the training package.
Once you have completed successfully the training and passed all your tests, you need your certification can only take place when you're working with an accredited QA provider. There are several of them that take in independent raters in the Northeast. If you go to the Northeast HERS website, which nehers.org, you can find that link. Or if you go to the RESNET website, resnet.us, either of those will show you QA providers that work in your area. You have to have access to tools. You can't do it without the tools. You don't necessarily need to own them, but you need to make sure that you have some. When it comes time to doing a blower door test, you need to use the blower door. You get your rating software through your provider, and then you are going to submit a minimum of 5 total ratings, 2 of which you've already done in class. So of the remaining 3 that are done with a provider, only 1 can be from plans. It doesn't have to be, but it could be your mother's house, could be your uncle's house, could be your boss's house, could be your house.
Could be your mother's house?
Could be my mother's house if you're conveniently located. 2 of them must be confirmed, and confirmed is the RESNET term for ratings that are done with all the performance testing, where you've been out in the field and you've seen what's actually there and you've verified it. And one of those 3 needs to be supervised by that QA provider's, boy, that's a complicated term, their QA designee or delegate, so we'll skip right over it.
Yes, these slides will be available for those of you asking.
Yep.
And the 50% rebate in New York is taken off the full price. You don't have to pay and then get a rebate. You just pay half the price.
Right. Is that right? That's nice.
That is correct. It's pretty sweet.
So these are some slides of building science things that we just wanted to, I mean, there are way too many to show, but did want people to see some of the stuff that gets covered during the course of training for building science purposes. You run into some of these things like that moisture diffusion is what codes are written about, but the action is all in air leakage for the most part. Some stuff that's very eye-opening. Certainly was eye-opening to me when I got to it. Learning how to do blower door testing. We've already talked about that. How do you calculate conditioned floor area?
All stuff that
believe me, this is a big deal, and we'll help you understand it.
Spend over an hour on it.
Calculations like figuring out what the effective R value is in an attic that's insulated at 2 different levels. It's not what you'd think. Just so you know, it might be what you think if you've already done this sort of thing before, but this is kind of math that you work through in order to do it.
If you know what it is, then it's exactly what you think.
Yes, it is. These are some of the plans that we review. This is what we'd create a model off of after. And understanding the different components in construction, like physical structures in a building, trusses, joists, span joists, venting systems, all these things are things that you need to cover in order to understand. A lot of subtle interactions of things, how you verify pressure issues in houses. That's kind of it. That was an example of a bunch of things we wanted to share. Emily has just...
this is the kind of thing we do randomly in our training.
Sometimes they're useful. Yeah. So randomly she's thrown up a poll that we'd like input on, which is, do you think it's useful to have questions during online training?
So you can just select to click, and we'll stay on for a little bit if anyone has questions.
I like the idea that somebody went immediately for the meh.
Oh, yeah? Nice. Well, I initially wanted to put that in there.
And we have a no, it slows down progress. And I actually, this is a very interesting fact.
that I didn't give you neutral options.
Right. That in fact, when you are taking a class, whether it be online or in classroom or both, you're in there with people in all sorts of different levels of understanding. And what we have found, I've found as a teacher, that I learn a lot from everybody. And we've also found that the people who have a lot of experience find that people who ask questions that they never thought about because they assumed they were stupid questions turn out to have high value. So figuring out, and this is part of our job as trainers, figuring out how we're making sure we're staying current with what people actually need to know and how to move it along is, well, that's what we work at quite a bit. Yeah. It's a challenge, but we generally find that the classes end up working well together. The various students work well together to make sure that we cover what we need.
Checks that people have understood the content and lets us know we can move on. And it's also good practice for the actual test. We try to have questions that are similar to what you'll be tested on at the end.
And I have gone over our allotted time, and I appreciate everybody's tolerance here.
If you feel like you want 30 more hours with this.
Yeah, we won't go by this percentage, we will not go over 30 hours, I guarantee it.
Yeah, no, sure.
But we would welcome further inquiries.
So someone's asking about our pass rate. So we did this type of training once so far this year, and we had excellent results.
Yeah. So nationwide, this particular, what we've seen is that the pass rate is higher than our average with this particular arrangement. Our trainings in general on this particular...
Our pass rate is higher than the national average.
And our pass rate is higher than the national average. Yeah. So national average is around 60% or something like that on the first attempt on the national test. I'm pretty pleased if we're in the 70 to 80% range on the first time. And
the last hybrid one we just did, it was about
85% of people passed the first time. So we're pretty pleased with that. I think that it's a
tough exam.
It's a tough exam. The written exam is the amount that you're taking in is a lot, but we're there to support you.
So these slides will be available. If you think of questions after, feel free to send them to us. And that's our rater training.
So thank you very much. And we will stay online a little bit, but we're going to essentially stop this presentation now, and we'll stay on just a little bit if there are other questions. Otherwise, have a good Friday and have a good weekend. Thank you very much for participating.